Baby, we are finally here after 6 months in the making, 5 months in the making. We have finished the build guide for Open Beta 1, and this is something I'm going to be updating as much as I can, but I put a lot of effort into this. Jinx helped me a lot with this also, and obviously Mario's editing the video, so give some love to those two. Massive document that you guys are gonna have access to, and it also have a tier list spot in there where you can see what tier they are in. Also, just to give you guys a quick rundown of it, talk about some things that I want to maybe talk about a couple of the OP characters. Starting with the homepage, you can get a look at my socials. You can go to the recent tier lists. Obviously, we'll have the yesterday's tier list also in here. And then this is like a disclaimer, just important. These builds are not concrete. These are not the best builds to go in every game. These are just good general builds for every game. If you are learning it and you want to just have not to think about your build, this will work in every single game. Also in these, we have ability ordering, we have notes, tiers. The best solo laner, let's go to Raw with his aspect, Bluestone, Berserkers, Pharaohs, Glad Shield, Phoenix Shield, Hussars or Xerxes, and then Shoguns with Shell. First 5 levels, you go your 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, max your 2, put points into your ult when you can, max your 3, max your 1. Your 2 auto attacks, proc abilities. The attack speed allows you to get more procs off, healing more and procking more. Ultimate heals you too. This is a very easy to play character for the most part once you've played him a few times. Those first 2 games might feel very weird of how he plays because nothing really plays like him. But once you start playing him, he becomes very strong. Another one, Hades, Conduit, Chronos, Poly, Totem, Helm of Radiance, Rod, and then either Divine, Wish Granting Pearl, or Xerxes. I'll be honest, this is mostly just Final K's build. I think it is just the best build you can play with Hades. Cooldown early game to allow you to farm. Poly gives you threat without ulting. Totem stacks very quickly. Helm of Radiance is sick for playmaking. And then Rod just gives you that extra damage. And depending on what's happening in that game, that 6th slot can be switched around. I think Wish Granting Pearl is a very OP item for Hades because of how many protections he gets in his ultimate. Getting more health and more intelligence is going to be more valuable than most other things. The issue is a lot of the times you do need anti-heal, so Divine is very good. And Xerxes also gives you that engage that you maybe are lacking if you can't go blink. I do think blink is pretty important on him though. Max your 4 when you can, 3, 2, 1. Get 2 points into your 3 early for the double the heals, double the farming. Mostly farming the early game. You can fight okay, but late game you're one of the strongest solo laners and just position a little bit smarter since you're full damage. For jungle, this is the build that I found I really like for Aladdin. People might be down on Jade Scepter, but I think Jade Scepter is pretty needed for him. This allows him to be actually un-1v1able in his lamp. Because when you use lamp, you and the enemy are at a pretty even 1v1. Jade Scepter, if you knock them up, reduces their strength and intelligence by 25%. So if you're playing against a hyper carry, you're playing against a mage, you knock them up one time, that fight's over. You win it no matter what. I think it is very strong. It also gives you that extra layer of peel, so you can jump in, use the knock up on your jump in, and then also knock up with Jade Scepter, and there's nothing they can really do. I really like this build. Also, I've come to the conclusion, do not sell your lamp. Your lamp is so broken when it comes to late game where it just allows you to stack 3k pots quicker. You're not selling it. It gets you to 6 items faster, yes, and I was thinking maybe you sell it after 6 items to get another item, one that's maybe an active or something like that. It's not worth it. It's perfect just to keep it and then just start building 3k pots. In jungle, I like maxing the 1. In solo lane, I like maxing the 2. And then in mid lane, I like maxing the 1. The 2's higher damage. The 1's just safer and allows you to farm a little bit easier. A little note here. Uses passive gold early game. Like the first time you feel like you're going to get a kill, pop your wish for wealth so you can get about 350 gold into your hand immediately. It gives you that first item so much quicker. It's very strong. Do not use your revive in the early portion of the game. Like unless it's 20 minutes in the game, you should never really be reviving. And then power, just use it whenever you think you can turn a team fight using those cooldowns. Very important sometimes where you have to use it to get your dashes back up because you're 8-0 and you're not really able to go back into the fight, but it just gets you out alive. That can be really good also. Loki's build's not really changed much. Cooldown, Hydras, Oathsworn, a couple pen and proc items. You'll one shot, you're very safe. Either Blink or Aegis, depending on what the enemy team has. Max 3, max 1, max 2, max 4. This is a pretty big note though. Abuse your 2 procs late game. Your 2 procs Crusher, Heartseeker, Oathsworn Sword, and you get the penetration from Titan's Bane. You have a lot of poke like that, and it makes it very hard to siege on a Loki. It makes it very hard to really do anything against Loki because of how good he is 1v1 and in team fights. And then abuse your invis reset. Invis in, you know, get your kill, invis out. Reset, maybe wait for your invis to come back up and then re-engage. It's very frustrating, very strong. Mid lane, I want to talk about Ullr. I think this is probably his best role. If you ask Zatman, he's probably going to say ADC because he's an ADC main and he wants to keep Ullr for himself. But currently, I think Boombas has a lot of value because of how much farm is in the game. He also has crazy auto resets. So Boombas, Trans, Tekokage, Hydra's gives you just a lot of auto resets, a lot of cooldown, a lot of ability spamming. And then Titan's Crusher and Heartseeker gives you a lot of one-shot potential late game. I do think there will be a point that Bluestone overtakes Boombas. But for now, he's one of those characters that kind of needs Boombas. And Poseidon is also another character that needs Boombas. His is a lot less, it almost feels like he's a little bit more reliant because Poseidon's a god that just farms everywhere. Farm a wave, go farm camps, farm back camps, farm red buff, go to wave, farm again, farm again. He kind of uses Boombas really well. The issue comes down to at what point does Boombas not become worth because of how much worse his clear is. Currently, I think it's still worth to go Boombas, but next patch, if they do nerf how much you clear again onto waves, maybe you have to switch it up, go Sands or Conduit. But for now, Poseidon and Ullr are 2 gods that go Boombas, and they're really the only 2. I think the other gods, it's important to have the clear. And then Ullr, insane mobility, really good at farming, one-shot potential with the auto attack cancels. Use your range to your advantage. Basically just fish late game for your axes. If you hit one, take the damage and use your auto resets and your abilities. Support, Kabraken's coming out soon. That's why he's kind of here ready. He's just not out yet, and I don't have any notes on him. Heroism is by far better than Warflag in every game. I've seen some players go Warflag. I am not a fan of it at all. I think it is very, very underwhelming, especially when you compare it to the shield that you're giving somebody with Heroism. I would go Heroism every single game. And you see here Boomba's Fenrir without Aspect. I think there is a possible playstyle currently for a second jungle who just mostly farms. You play a kind of a 2v2, but mostly you're just looking to invade the enemy's farm. You don't invade level 1. You kind of play for your own purple buff, play for wave, and then if you're losing wave pressure, you go farm the enemy's jungle camps while they push in that next wave. It is difficult to make work unless you're already a jungle player and you're used to farming in your brain. You're still building into tank and you're still building to, like, you know, play around your team, but you do have a little bit more damage with the shifters, with the Boombas, and you farm a lot better. And then Aphrodite, I like Cloak. Try to get a couple stacks. If you do go late game with stacked up Aphrodite, you're very, very hard to kill. Xerxes gives you this extra layer of survivability. So you have a dash on your ultimate. You also have a dash on your Xerxes. It gives you more CC. You can kiss somebody, knock them up, and then knock them away. And that's a lot of CC that usually your team can kill off of. Breastplate and gargoyles for cooldown. This character is very, very cooldown reliant. As you can see, there's not a ton of health in these first 4 items. It's mostly just the Xerxes. Stampede is broken right now, and then Hussars is just a very good item. You could switch out to the Hussars for like an Asclepius if you want that healing, but I just think this item is just so valuable, giving you that immunity to slows. And yes, I know Stampede gives you immunity to slows too. You'll see a lot of times where I build both of them. That's just because you don't want to use Stampede to cleanse slows. You want to use Stampede to run the enemy down. Hussars just gives you that slow all the time, so then you can use Stampede for just running them down or running away if you have to. And then the last thing I want to talk about with support, I think Khepri's Aspect is better than Khepri normal. I think the amount of damage and threat that Khepri with the Aspect gives you in that 2v2, I think is just a lot better. Little point here, get 3 points into your 1 for a 4th tick of damage. The first 2 levels into your Khepri 2, you only have 1 tick of, or sorry, you have 3 tick of damage. As soon as you get that 3rd point, you get that 4th tick, and that's the break point. Then you can start maxing your 2. So it's really weird with Khepri where you go 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, and then you put points into your ult whenever you can, and 2 in whenever you can, and then you can max your 1 and then max your 3. It's hard to write that down, but I do add it here where you get your 3 points into your 1 and then you max your 2. The cool thing about Khepri is at level 2, if you 2 somebody and then as it's coming down, you 1 them, so they sit in the 2 for the entire duration and you also get your 1 onto them, you do 300 damage with that. That is not normal damage from a support. That is like ADC damage in that amount of time. It is a 2-second duration where you're doing 300 damage and you're also getting protections on your pluck, so you're a little bit tankier also. I think Khepri is very, very good right now. I think he's maybe even a little underrated. He's not broken by any means. As you can see, he's not in the OP tier, but I do think he's not getting picked as much as he should. Lastly, carry. I played a few carry games and this feels like the best ADC build. Devs into Braggies, especially when they shifted Braggies away from the intelligence and into the strength. It's now 35 strength, 25 int. The damage feels really good. Combining it with Kins and then the shred from Exi and Dom just feels the best. The reason that I have these tank items in the 6th slot is most of the time, your damage isn't going to get that much higher with a 6th item. Like, yeah, you could go something like Bracer. You could go something like a crit item if you wanted to. You could go something like another lifesteal item. Yes, that's all possible. I think the survivability just outweighs 95% of the time, especially because I hear a lot about ADC mates don't feel like they get peeled for enough. Their support kind of leaves them out to dry. I think the 6th item, being a tank item, makes you feel that much better, and it allows you to kind of hyper carry games without having to worry about your team kind of peeling for you. If you're in a game and your Aphrodite's, you know, perma-kissing you, healing you, and she is keeping you alive, and she's the best player you've ever played with, there's going to be more value in going a 6th damage item. It's not even close. But it's just 90% of games, I do think having that extra tank item is more worth. And as I said, Jing Wei is like one of the only characters that builds very differently. Serrated Hydras, I think this is the Sun Prodigy build. I don't know if he got it from somebody else, but as far as I know, he's the first person I saw play this. Serrated Hydras, Deathbringer, Musashi's Dom, Avatars, Parashu. Absolutely insane late game. Very strong early game in terms of you can't really kill her and she farms very well. And she's very, very hard to shut down. This build is very OP. If you learn Jing Wei on this current patch, you will climb. This is a broken build. And your 2 auto resets. So you can like proc your 2, auto 2 auto. So you auto and you reset your auto with procking your 2, which autos again. You have no attack speed in this build, so this is supposed to be like auto, auto, auto. With this build you can go, or with any build you can go auto to auto, but with this build it's auto to auto. Like it auto attack resets that quickly, so you just do like 1,000 damage, instantly reset it into 1,000 damage, you one shot. Last thing to talk about, the Tegvir Zeus build. This is from Tegvir himself. This is his build for Zeus and what he likes to build. He doesn't build any lifesteal on Zeus, and he says because lifesteal's hardly keeping you alive on Zeus most of the time, you need to kill them before they kill you. Your sustain comes from Axe and Chalice. So he goes Chalice every single game. Bracer, Demon Blade, Exi, Kins, Deathbringer, Death Metal. He's also big on Death Metal, especially for Zeus. And maybe it's eventually something where crit is so OP, I have to work Death Metal, or I have to build it in most games where you'll go basically these 5 items with a lifesteal item, maybe serrated devs, something like that. But currently, I don't think crit is valuable enough. I think it is good, but I don't think it's valuable enough. But this is the Tegvir Zeus build, and I've played against Zeus with this build. He one-shots. It's broken. It's just hard to play because you don't have sustain, and most players aren't ready to play that. But yeah, there it is. The build guide is finished. It will now be available for all you guys. It'll be down below. If you guys want to check it out, it'll also be available. It'll also be in my Twitch, !builds. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys are liking the content. We're keeping the stuff rolling. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have fun watching it. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.